In my first life, I was Maya Zhao, a promising architect, a loving wife, a trusting friend. That life ended because of three things. First, my husband, Derek Chen, a man whose ambition was a cancer, used our firm to run a massive fraud scheme, laundering money from city housing projects. Second, my best friend, Jessica, the woman I'd considered a sister, helped him do it. Her envy a poison she dripped into our lives for years. And third, they murdered me. Not with a gun or a knife, but with a carefully orchestrated car crash on a rain-slicked highway after I told them I had the evidence and was going to the police. They made it look like a tragic accident, a suicide, driven by the shame of the public scandal they were about to pin on me. I remember the blinding headlights, the screech of tires, and Derek's face, watching from the overpass, devoid of any emotion. Then, nothing. Until I woke up, 3 years in the past, in my own bed, the morning sun on my face, with every memory of their betrayal branded onto my soul. The iPhone screen spiders across Derek's palm, a sickening crunch that echoes in the trendy coffee shop. It's a sound I know intimately, a sound that has haunted my nightmares for 3 years. Jessica, standing beside him, smirks. It's the same vindictive gleam in her eyes, the same satisfied, shallow exhale I watched her take as she crushed my phone, my evidence, on the cold marble floor of our conference room right before they destroyed my career, my marriage, and my life. History, it seems, has a twisted sense of humor. Coffee, hot and bitter, splatters across my white blazer. The dark liquid seeps into the pristine fabric, and the acrid scent mixes with Jessica's cloying vanilla perfume. It's a sensory cocktail I remember with perfect, chilling clarity. This is exactly how it happened before. The feigned apology, the casual destruction, the beginning of the end. In my first life, this moment sent a jolt of pure, unadulterated panic through me. My heart had hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. My hands had started to shake, my mind racing, trying to find an escape from a trap that had already sprung. I had pleaded. I had looked from Derek's feigned look of concern to Jessica's smug triumph and felt the world tilt on its axis. But this isn't my first life. This time, my pulse steadies instead of spiking. It settles into a slow, rhythmic beat, a war drum counting down to their demise. This calm is rebirth gift number one, knowing their playbook. I know every move, every lie, every tell. I've had 3 years to study their strategy, to dissect their treachery in the silent, replayed moments of my second chance. They think they are predators stalking their prey. They have no idea they're walking into a cage I've spent 3 years building. The deposition is scheduled for 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. 18 hours from now. They think that by destroying this phone, they've also destroyed the encrypted files I had on it, the evidence of their Meridian Holdings fraud case. They believe they have once again erased my cloud backup, just as they did before, using the spyware Jessica installed on my devices weeks ago. They think they have me cornered, that I'll crumble, just like the first Maya did. Derek starts the performance, his voice dripping with false sincerity. Oh my God, Maya, I am so sorry. I can't believe I did that. My hand just slipped. He holds up the shattered phone as if it's a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions. Jessica chimes in, her voice a silken weapon. It was an accident, Maya. Don't make a scene. It's just a phone. We'll buy you a new one, a better one. She places a hand on his arm, a picture of supportive innocence. They are so good at this perfectly rehearsed play of lies. In my first life, I fell for it. I believed the accident. I let them placate me with promises and false comfort, all while they were methodically erasing my life's work and framing me for their crimes. This time, I just watched them. I let the silence stretch. I watched the flicker of confusion in Derek's eyes as I failed to react with the expected hysteria. He's waiting for the tears, for the accusations that are easy to dismiss as emotional hysterics. I give him nothing. Instead, I meet his gaze, a slow, deliberate smile spreading across my face. It's not a warm smile. It's the kind of smile that promises a reckoning. I see a genuine tremor of unease pass through him, a micro-expression he can't quite hide. He doesn't understand this reaction. This is not in the script. Don't worry about it, Derek, I say, my voice calm, almost cheerful. Accidents happen. I reach into my handbag, my movements unhurried. Their eyes follow my hand, expecting me to pull out a wallet or perhaps tissues to dab at my ruined blazer. Instead, I pull out my secondary phone, a sleek, black, untraceable burner phone. It's not connected to any of my known accounts. It's a ghost. I watch Derek's confident mask flicker, the carefully constructed facade cracking just for a second. His jaw tightens. Jessica's smirk falters, replaced by a slight, almost imperceptible frown. They weren't expecting a contingency. They weren't expecting this Maya. After all, I continue, unlocking the screen with a swipe of my thumb, it's always wise to have a backup. The timer has started. 18 hours. For them, it's a countdown to victory. For me, it's a countdown to vengeance. And this time, I won't be the one who runs out of time. I don't break eye contact with Derek. His face is a canvas of shifting emotions, confusion warring with a rising tide of anger he's trying desperately to suppress. Jessica is frozen beside him, her plastic smile glued in place, but her eyes are cold, calculating. They're reassessing. The little victim isn't playing her part. My thumb hovers over the contact list on the burner phone. I've had this number memorized for 3 years, a lifeline I didn't know I needed in my first life. Alex, my lawyer. Not the high-powered corporate shark Derek hired for our firm and for our divorce, but the scrappy, brilliant litigator I should have trusted from the start. I press the call button, the phone's speaker already enabled. The dial tone cuts through the low murmur of the coffee shop. Alex, I say, my voice is clear and steady as a bell. It's Maya. I keep my gaze locked on Derek, watching the color drain from his face. Quick update. They just destroyed evidence. Right here in the middle of the Bluefin Coffee House on Grand Street. Yes, in front of witnesses. Derek lunges forward, his hand reaching for my phone. For me. It's a primal, instinctual reaction. The mask is gone. This is the real Derek, the cornered animal. Maya, what the hell are you doing? Don't be so dramatic. I told you it was an accident. I take a half step back, pulling the phone out of his reach without flinching. Was it an accident, Derek? I ask, my voice rising just enough to draw the attention of the surrounding tables. A woman with a laptop looks up. A barista pauses, polishing a glass. Like the accident where you transferred over $2 million in company funds to Jessica's offshore account in the Caymans? That kind of accident? A collective gasp ripples through our immediate vicinity. The coffee shop, once a low hum of chatter and clinking cups, goes utterly silent. Jessica's face turns ashen. She looks like she's been slapped. Derek freezes, his hand still outstretched, his mouth slightly agape. He looks from my face to the curious, staring eyes of the other patrons. He's used to controlling the narrative, to operating in the shadows of corporate boardrooms and private offices. He is not used to being the main attraction in a public spectacle. Alex's voice, sharp and incisive, cuts through the speakerphone, filling the silence. Maya, are you safe? Don't say anything else. I've got what I need. The metadata from this call, your location, the timestamp. It's enough. There's a pause, the sound of furious typing in the background. They destroyed evidence of a pending federal case in a public place. They're fools. I'm filing for emergency sanctions with Judge Wellington today. This constitutes spoliation of evidence and witness intimidation. They just handed us a gift, Maya. A very, very big one. Thank you, Alex, I say calmly. I'll be at your office in an hour with the documentation we discussed. What documentation? Derek hisses, his voice a low, venomous whisper. He's forgotten we have an audience. You have nothing. We made sure of that. I just smile at him. Did you? As I end the call, Derek's wedding ring catches the fluorescent light. His hands are shaking. It's the same tell, the same subtle tremor that gave him away during our divorce proceedings 3 years ago, when he lied under oath about his assets. He would clench and unclench his fists, his ring glinting, a telltale sign of the pressure building inside him. Some things, it seems, never change. Rebirth gift number 2. Knowing all their weaknesses. I turn to Jessica. You look pale, Jess. Is the vanilla perfume making you nauseous? It always did when you were lying. Her eyes widen, a flash of pure, undiluted shock. It was a private joke between us from our college days, a small, intimate detail from a life she thought I'd forgotten, or one she assumed was now buried under layers of betrayal. It's a tiny needle, but I see it hit its mark. It tells her this isn't just about business. This is personal. Without another word, I turn and walk away, leaving them standing there amidst the wreckage of their morning, the shattered phone on the table a symbol of their broken confidence. The eyes of every person in the coffee shop follow me as I push open the door and step out into the cool city air. The first move was theirs. The second was mine. And I'm just getting started. The law offices of Chen, Wright, and Associates are exactly as I remember them, a temple of masculine self-importance built on fraud. The air is thick with the scent of old leather, expensive wood polish, and an arrogance so palpable you can almost taste it. Derek's personal office is at the end of a long hallway, its frosted glass doors obscuring the view, but not the frantic energy within. I can see Jessica's silhouette pacing back and forth behind the glass, the sharp staccato click-clack of her Louboutin heels, a frantic metronome counting down their dwindling options. When I'm shown in, Derek is standing behind his massive mahogany desk. It's not a piece of furniture, it's a barricade. He has a stack of contracts in his hand and he slams them down onto the polished surface. The sound is meant to intimidate, a show of power. In my first life, it would have made me flinch. Now, it just feels pathetic. "You have no idea what you're doing, Maya," he begins, forgoing any pleasantries. His voice is low and controlled, the calm before a storm. This is his power play persona, the unflappable legal titan. "I think I have a pretty good idea," I reply, taking a seat in one of the plush leather chairs opposite him without being invited. I cross my legs, my demeanor casual, as if we're discussing the weather. This simple act of claiming space throws him off. He expects me to stand, to be deferential, to be afraid. Jessica stops her pacing and glares at me, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. "You're walking into a world of pain, Maya. We own you." "Do you?" I ask, my gaze shifting from her to Derek. "Let's talk about ownership, shall we?" Derek leans forward, his hands flat on the desk. "You signed NDAs, Maya. Multiple NDAs when you left the firm. They are ironclad. One word to anyone about Meridian Holdings, and we will bury you, not just in legal fees. We will destroy your reputation, what's left of it, so completely that you will never work in this city or any city ever again. We did it once, we can do it again." He's referencing the shell company, the primary vehicle for their money laundering. He thinks the non-disclosure agreements are his trump card, his ultimate shield. He believes I'm bound by the same rules they so flagrantly ignore. "You're right," I concede, enjoying the flicker of triumph that crosses his face. "I did sign those, and those NDAs are very specific. They cover the operations and financials of Meridian Holdings, LLC. I pause, letting the words hang in the Arctic air of the office. But they don't say a single word about real estate kickbacks. The color drains from Derek's face. Jessica's jaw goes slack. It's a direct hit, and they know it. Meridian Holdings was the how, but the kickbacks were the why. It was the entire point of the scheme. They would overinflate construction bids for city housing projects, funneling the excess money through Meridian. A cut of that money would then be kicked back to corrupt city officials who approved the fraudulent contracts. It was a beautiful, self-sustaining ecosystem of greed. Derek recovers quickly, but his voice is a fraction tighter than before. "You have zero proof of any kickbacks. That's a wild, libelous accusation." "Am I?" I ask, my voice soft. "I remember some very interesting fishing trips you took. You, Jessica, and Senator Morrison. You always went to the Florida Keys. You said you hated fishing, Derek. Hated the sun. Hated the smell, yet you went every 3 months like clockwork. And it was always right after a major city planning vote went your way." I lean forward, lowering my voice into a conspiratorial whisper. "I have Senator Morrison's yacht receipts, Derek, paid for by a wire transfer from an account you control. Want to try and explain why the city's most powerful senator was enjoying your hospitality just days after he fast-tracked the zoning approval for the waterfront development? The one that netted Meridian over $20 million? You're bluffing, Jessica snaps, her voice shrill. You have nothing. We searched your apartment after the accident. We searched your car. We had our tech guys scrub your digital footprint from the face of the earth. Every file, every backup, every ghost of a file, it's all gone. It's the first time they've openly admitted to the full scope of their actions against me in my first life. The confirmation is validating, a cold, hard stone of certainty in my gut. They're arrogant. They believe they are untouchable, that their methods are infallible. You searched the Maya you knew, I say quietly. The Maya who trusted you. The Maya who kept everything on a single phone and a single cloud account. You haven't met this one. I reach into my briefcase. It's the same one I carried in my first life, a gift from Derek for our 3rd anniversary. The irony is delicious. I pull out a single folded document. The paper is thick, expensive linen stock, the kind reserved for important correspondence. The office, which had managed to maintain its warmth despite the tension, suddenly turns arctic. I can feel the air chill as they watch me, their eyes glued to the paper in my hand. I slide it across the vast expanse of the mahogany desk. It glides silently over the polished wood, coming to a stop directly in front of Derek. He hesitates, his eyes darting from the document to my face, searching for a sign, a tell, any indication of a bluff. He finds none. Slowly, cautiously, he reaches out and picks it up. He unfolds it. It's a single page, a signed confession. I, Senator Thomas Morrison, do hereby confess to accepting financial kickbacks and other considerations. Derek's breath catches in his throat. He reads the words, his eyes scanning down the page to the flourishing, confident signature at the bottom. Senator Thomas Morrison. He looks up at me, his face a mask of utter disbelief and raw, primal fear. How? He whispers, the word barely audible. How did you get this? Let's just say, I reply, my voice as cold as ice, that some people value their freedom more than they value their loyalty to you. The confession in Derek's hand is a ghost. A perfect, beautiful, utterly fraudulent ghost. The signature at the bottom, the one that's currently making his blood run cold, is his own handwriting. I forged it, perfectly. After my rebirth, my first 6 months were a haze of grief and rage. But after the storm passed, a cold, diamond-hard clarity emerged. I knew what I had to do. I dedicated the next 3 years to a singular, monastic pursuit, becoming Derek. I didn't just study his business dealings, I studied him. I found old legal pads, discarded letters, birthday cards he'd written to his mother. I practiced his signature thousands of times, day after day, until I could replicate it flawlessly, from the arrogant upward slant of the D to the impatient flick of the N. I learned the specific pressure he applied to the pen, the way the ink feathered slightly on the downstrokes. I could sign his name better than he could. The confession in his hand is the culmination of that obsessive work, written on the senator's actual letterhead, which I'd procured from a disgruntled former aide for the price of a plane ticket to a new life. Derek is staring at the paper, his mind clearly reeling, trying to process the impossible. He's running through every conversation, every meeting with Morrison, searching for the moment of betrayal. He's trying to figure out when the senator, his key partner in crime, his political powerhouse, flipped on him. He won't find it because it hasn't happened. Not yet. Here's the part they can't possibly comprehend. In a few hours, when the initial shock wears off and his lawyer's mind starts to dissect the document for inconsistencies, he might notice that the font of the typed body of the confession doesn't perfectly match the custom font used on Morrison's official letterhead. It's a subtle, almost imperceptible difference, but it's there. A breadcrumb I left for him to find. But by then it will be too late. Because the real play, the one this entire charade is built upon, is already in motion. By tomorrow's sunrise, when Derek is desperately trying to contact the senator, he will discover that my real evidence doesn't live on a piece of paper. It lives in Senator Morrison's actual safe. The real evidence isn't a confession I forged. It's a complete set of transaction records, audio recordings, and sworn affidavits that I delivered to the senator 6 months ago. I didn't go to him with threats. That was the mistake the first Maya made. I went to him with an opportunity. I laid out the entire case against him and Derek, a case so airtight it would put him away for the rest of his life. And then I offered him a deal, the same kind of deal prosecutors offer to turn a co-conspirator into a star witness. I told him that federal investigators were already sniffing around the edges of the housing projects, that it was only a matter of time. He could either go down with Derek, a disgraced politician buried in scandal, or he could cooperate, secure full immunity, and emerge as a whistleblower, a hero who exposed corruption at the highest levels. Senator Morrison, a man who valued his political survival above all else, made the pragmatic choice. He's been cooperating with the FBI for the last 6 months, feeding them information, wearing a wire, and helping them build an unshakable case against Derek's entire network. The fishing trips they took? The FBI was listening. The offshore accounts? The FBI was monitoring them. The forged confession in Derek's hand is just a tool. It's not the weapon, it's the anesthetic. It's designed to focus all his attention and panic right here, in this room, on this piece of paper. It's meant to make him believe the threat is external, that Morrison betrayed him. It will send him down a rabbit hole of paranoia and frantic damage control, scrambling to hide assets and contact allies, all while the real trap is closing around him. It will keep him distracted while the FBI obtains the final warrants they need. This can't be real, Derek stammers, looking from the paper to me. His composure is shattered. He's no longer the legal titan. He's just a scared man in an expensive suit. Jessica looks like she's about to be sick. Morrison wouldn't dare. We have too much on him. Apparently, I had more, I say simply. I stand up, my chair making a soft scraping sound on the plush carpet. I walk around the desk and gently take the forged document from Derek's trembling hand. He lets it go without resistance, his fingers limp. I fold it carefully and slide it back into my briefcase. "What are you doing?" he asks, his voice hollow. "I wouldn't want that to get into the wrong hands," I say, snapping the locks on my briefcase shut. "It's just a copy, of course. The original is somewhere safe." I let him believe the lie. Let him think the paper is the prize. Let him think he still has a chance to find the original and destroy it. "You have until the deposition tomorrow morning to consider your options, Derek," I say, my voice dropping to a near whisper. "Though, I have to be honest, I don't think you have any left." I turn and walk towards the door, my heels silent on the thick rug. I can feel their eyes on my back, two pairs of eyes staring into the abyss that has just opened up in front of them. They think this is the worst moment of their lives. They have no idea. The reversal is complete. They think they're fighting me, their vengeful ex-wife. They don't know they've been fighting the federal government for the last 6 months. And they are about to lose. The air outside the federal courthouse is crisp with the promise of late autumn. A small crowd of reporters has already gathered on the wide stone steps, drawn by the scent of blood in the water from Alex's emergency filing. They're a flock of vultures, microphones clutched like talons, camera lenses hungry for a spectacle. This is exactly what I wanted. Derek built his empire in the shadows. I'm going to tear it down in the blinding light of day. I see Alex waiting for me near the top of the steps, a small, reassuring smile on his face. He gives me a subtle nod. It's time. I walk past the throng of reporters, ignoring their shouted questions. "Miss Zhao, is it true Chen, Wright and Associates is under investigation? Can you comment on the allegations of fraud?" I stop at the designated spot we chose, a place with a clear view of the courthouse entrance and perfect acoustics. I reach into my briefcase and pull out another document. This one is real. It's a certified copy of Derek's original partnership agreement for Meridian Holdings, the one that establishes him as the sole controlling partner. It's the foundational document of his entire criminal enterprise, a piece of evidence I managed to secure from a disgruntled clerk in the firm's records department months ago. I hold it up for the cameras to see. The wind catches the edges of the paper, making it flutter. "My name is Maya Zhao," I say, my voice clear and strong, carrying easily in the cool air. The reporters surge forward, a wave of bodies and equipment. For years, my ex-husband, Derek Chen, has used his law firm and a shell company called Meridian Holdings to systematically defraud city housing projects, stealing millions of dollars intended for families in need. I don't wait for their reaction. With deliberate, precise movements, I begin to tear the partnership agreement into long, thin strips. Each rip is a sharp, satisfying sound, a small act of destruction against the monument of his greed. The paper strips, covered in legal jargon and his arrogant signature, catch the October wind and dance in the air like bitter confetti before settling on the cold stone steps. This document, I announce, holding up the last remaining corner before shredding it too, is proof of his crimes, but it's just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Right on cue, a sleek black town car pulls up to the curb. Derek emerges, flanked by a crisis management team that looks as expensive as it is useless. He's wearing his courtroom armor, a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, a power red tie, and an expression of calm, measured indignation. He's had a few hours to regroup, to get his lies in order. He sees the cameras, sees me, and his face hardens. He strides towards the microphones, his team parting the sea of reporters for him. My ex-wife, Maya Zhao, is a disgruntled and unstable individual, he proclaims, his voice resonating with practiced authority. She is fabricating baseless evidence in a desperate and pathetic attempt to extort money from me and my firm. This is a private matter, a painful divorce dispute that she has chosen to make public. A reporter shoves a microphone in my face. Miss Zhao, Derek Chen claims you're fabricating evidence. Your response? I look directly at Derek, a calm, pitying smile on my face. Then perhaps Mr. Chen can explain why FBI agent Martinez is, at this very moment, serving federal warrants on all of his Meridian Holdings accounts. The name hangs in the air, a grenade with the pin pulled. Agent Martinez, the lead investigator on the case, the man Senator Morrison has been reporting to for 6 months. Derek pales. I see a muscle jump in his jaw. That's impossible, he scoffs, but the denial is weak, brittle. He's trying to project confidence, but his eyes betray a frantic, panicked calculation. He's thinking about the accounts, about the money. We transferred everything to... He stops, his mouth snaps shut. But it's too late. The admission, fractional as it was, hangs in the air, captured by a dozen microphones. He just admitted to moving assets in response to a federal investigation, obstruction of justice, in public, on camera. I finish his sentence for him, my voice dripping with faux sympathy. To the Cayman Islands Shell Company? The one you thought was untraceable? The one Senator Morrison has been helping the FBI monitor since January? Derek's face, which was already pale, drains of all color. He looks like a man who has just seen a ghost. The carefully constructed world he built for himself, a world of power, wealth, and impunity, is crumbling around him in real time on live television. His crisis team looks on, helpless. There is no PR spin for this. A deep, resonant sound echoes across the plaza. The courthouse bells are chiming 4 o'clock. 12 hours. 12 hours until the deposition. The deposition that will now be a formality. The deposition that will expose their entire network. I look at Derek, at the ruin of the man I once loved. He's staring at me, his eyes filled with a dawning, horrified understanding. He finally sees it. This wasn't just about a broken phone. This wasn't just about a divorce. This was a war. And he brought a knife to a nuclear fight. The second strike has landed right in the heart of his empire, and the final blow is yet to come. Federal Courtroom 3B is bathed in the slanted, unforgiving light of late afternoon. The tall, arched windows frame a sky bleeding from blue to orange, a fitting backdrop for the twilight of Derek Chen's empire. The gallery is packed to capacity, a sea of reporters, legal spectators, and the curious public, all crammed onto the polished wooden benches. The air hums with a quiet, predatory anticipation. This is no longer a simple deposition. It's the trial of the century playing out in miniature. Derek sits at the respondents' table, looking smaller than I've ever seen him. His suit is still immaculate, his hair perfectly coiffed, but the man inside is a ghost. He's flanked by a new set of lawyers, somber-faced men who specialize in federal criminal defense, not corporate litigation. His crisis team is gone. Jessica is nowhere to be seen. Alex later told me she'd been served at her apartment this morning and was currently in a separate federal building, likely trying to cut a deal that would throw Derek under every bus imaginable. Loyalty was never her strong suit. I sit at the petitioner's table with Alex. I am calm. I feel a profound sense of stillness, the kind that comes after a long and brutal storm. 3 years of rage, planning, and sleepless nights have led to this exact moment. Judge Wellington, a formidable woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, peers down from the bench. "Mr. Chen," she says, her voice echoing in the cavernous room, "you are under oath. I will remind you that perjury in a federal court is a serious offense. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor," Derek says, his voice raspy. Alex stands. "Mr. Chen, let's go back to the events of yesterday. You destroyed Miss Zhao's phone, an act we contend was a deliberate spoliation of evidence." "It was an accident," Derek parrots, the lie sounding hollow and rehearsed even to his own ears. "An accident," Alex repeats, letting the words hang in the air. "An accident that occurred just hours before you attempted to liquidate and transfer all assets from your Meridian Holdings accounts. Is that correct?" Derek's lawyer jumps to his feet. "Objection, Your Honor. Assumes facts not in evidence." "Overruled," Judge Wellington says, waving him back into his seat. "The court has seen the FBI's preliminary report on the account activity. Answer the question, Mr. Chen." Derek shifts in his seat. "As part of our firm's long-term financial strategy, we periodically reallocate assets to maximize returns and mitigate risk." It's a well-rehearsed line, a piece of corporate jargon meant to obfuscate the truth. "And what risk were you mitigating, Mr. Chen?" Alex presses, his voice like a scalpel. "The risk of those assets being frozen by federal investigators?" "Objection!" his lawyer shouts again. "Sustained," the judge says. "Mr. Glass, one more outburst like that and I'll hold you in contempt. Rephrase your question, Mr. Miller." Alex nods. "Mr. Chen, I'd like to talk about the transfers themselves. Did you, at any point, authorize transfers to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands?" This is the moment, the core of the fraud. Derek looks at his lawyer, who gives him a slight, almost imperceptible shake of the head. He knows he's trapped. "I have never authorized any unauthorized transfers to any offshore accounts," he says carefully, choosing his words with surgical precision. It's a classic non-denial denial. "An interesting choice of words," Alex muses, walking slowly towards the witness stand. "Let's talk about what you have authorized. Yesterday, shortly after your performance on the courthouse steps, you signed dissolution papers for Meridian Holdings, LLC. Is that correct?" Derek hesitates. "That was a preventative legal strategy?" "Preventative against what, Mr. Chen?" Alex asks, his voice soft but carrying a deadly weight. Derek opens his mouth, then closes it. He sees the trap, a perfect, inescapable cage of logic. If he says it was to prevent the seizure of assets, he admits guilt. If he says it was for any other reason, it makes no sense. Why dissolve your primary investment vehicle for no reason? "Preventative against false accusations of—" Derek stops, realizing his mistake. He's walked right into it. "Against accusations of what, Mr. Chen?" Alex presses, his voice rising, demanding an answer. The entire courtroom leans forward. Derek looks around wildly, his eyes darting from the judge to his lawyer, to the silent, watching faces in the gallery. He's searching for an escape that doesn't exist. He is utterly, completely cornered. His perfectly maintained composure, the mask he has worn his entire adult life, finally begins to crack. Sweat beads on his forehead. A muscle in his cheek twitches uncontrollably, and at that exact moment, the large oak doors at the back of the courtroom swing open. Every head turns. FBI agent Martinez enters, flanked by two other agents. They are carrying large, clear plastic boxes, evidence boxes. They are filled with hard drives, binders stuffed with documents, and Ziploc bags containing cell phones, including the pristine, untraceable burner phone I used to call Alex. The agents walk silently down the center aisle and place the boxes on the prosecution's table with a solid, definitive thud. The sound seems to echo in the silent room, a death knell for Derek Chen. He stares at the boxes, at the mountain of evidence against him. He sees the binders, his life's work of deception, laid bare. He sees the hard drives, his digital secrets, unlocked. He sees it all, the full, crushing weight of his downfall, and Derek Chen, The man who had everything, the man who took everything from me, does something I have never seen him do before. He breaks. A choked, guttural sob escapes his lips. He slumps forward in his chair, his head in his hands, and begins to weep. Not quiet, dignified tears, but the raw, ugly, soul-shattering sobs of a man whose world has just ended. The climax isn't a shout, it's a whimper. The final confrontation isn't a battle of wits, it's a complete and total surrender. The evidence speaks for itself. The game is over. The click of the handcuffs is a quiet, metallic sound, almost lost in the sudden cacophony of reporters shouting questions as federal marshals lead a sobbing Derek from the courtroom. But I hear it. It's the sound I've been waiting to hear for 3 years. It comes exactly 18 hours after Jessica broke my phone. The timing is poetic. His career, built on a foundation of lies and hubris, ends not with a bang, but with the quiet, definitive snap of steel around his wrists. Justice, it turns out, is a dish best served cold and with irrefutable evidence. 6 months later, I'm standing in a different kind of room, this one in Washington, D.C. The air is just as charged, but it's with the weight of governance, not guilt. I'm testifying before a congressional subcommittee on municipal corruption, my testimony forming the cornerstone of what the media is now calling the Zhao Act, a new piece of federal legislation aimed at preventing the kind of fraud Derek perfected. My rebuilt consulting firm, Zhao and Associates, this time with my name rightfully on the door, is thriving in ways I, and certainly Derek, never could have imagined. We specialize in forensic accounting and ethical oversight for urban development projects. We're not just successful, we're doing good, untangling the very knots of corruption I was once caught in. Senator Morrison's cooperation deal worked out just as I'd planned. He received full immunity for his testimony, which was so comprehensive, it brought down not only Derek, but 2 city council members and a deputy mayor. He spun the narrative perfectly, positioning himself as a courageous whistleblower. Last month, the president nominated him for a cabinet position as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. He sends me a bottle of expensive scotch every month. I never drink it, but I keep the bottles lined up on my office shelf as a reminder that sometimes the most powerful allies are the ones you forge from your enemy's weaknesses. Jessica plea bargained her way down to a 5-year sentence in a minimum security federal correctional institution. She gave the prosecution everything they wanted on Derek, every sordid detail, every hidden account number. I read in an online gossip column that she's teaching a yoga class to her fellow inmates. I imagine she's discovering that the scent of vanilla perfume and betrayal doesn't quite mask the lingering stench of guilt and cheap disinfectant. The city housing projects that Derek and his cronies bankrupted, the ones that were left as half-finished skeletons of steel and concrete, are finally getting the federal funding they were promised. Last week, I attended the groundbreaking ceremony for the first revived project. I watched families, the very people Derek stole from, look on with hope as construction crews got back to work. I saw the children who would one day have safe, clean homes to live in. That felt better than any revenge. I sometimes think about the shattered phone on the coffee shop table. It was a symbol of their arrogance, their belief that they could simply break things and make them go away. But they were wrong. Some things, once broken, can be put back together stronger. And some evidence, once it's been backed up properly, never truly disappears. It just waits. It waits for a second chance.